Thanks for tuning back in to another Tuesday Talk. And we're talking about knowing your path. And in knowing your path, I want to lay a bit of foundation for you, right? Because a lot of times we think that we're in the right direction and you have to restart or feel like you need to restart or go back over what you did instead of just looking and assessing what you have and going from there. And when I first started wanting to develop and grow further as an individual, it really started in my job atmosphere in gaining promotions. That's how I started looking at myself. I started paying attention to myself in business, not personally, but just in business, because I wanted to gain other positions. I wanted to be kind of a source for other people because when I made it to HR, I knew that certain people felt like I shouldn't be there. And I knew that based on the way I acted, carried myself from there on out, would either keep them in that mindset or would change their thoughts. And my biggest goal was not worried about that, but was more worried about understanding that I needed to grow in a professional manner. And how could I get there? And being a trainer allowed me to have a lot of information, a lot of people at my disposal for free to where other people were paying for it. I was getting for free and learning daily on how to interact differently, how to work with people, how to work in departments, how to work in group settings, how to work with your superiors. All of that I was learning very rapidly. And I was thrust into that just because I was willing to say, hey, I want to give it a try. And I say knowing your path is so important because you have to know what you're capable of doing as an individual without worried about other people around you and their capabilities. There's more than one type of manager. There's more than one president of the United States. So why in the world can't there be more than one successful person? I just don't understand why we get so focused on other people's goals or their accomplishments, thinking that that should be us. Whereas I'm here to tell you today, nobody said that couldn't be you. You just aren't doing it now and someone else is. But it doesn't mean that that won't become you with hard work and dedication. So Steve Harvey talked about a story of how he would pray constantly for other people's land and other people's accomplishments and say, hey, I want to be an author. This person was an author. I want to be an author. I want to be a motivational speaker. I want this piece of land. I want to grow and be able to reach more people. And he would do this because he said he knew that these other people weren't going to ask for it, so he doesn't want to be closed off from it. And I got to thinking about that story, and I realized when we talk about knowing your path or paying attention to your focus, it's very important. So this is how I look at it. Let's say you have lots of houses, and that's how people build houses, right? You get a lot of land, and you build on that lot, and depending on how much the lot has, how many acreage it is how big your house is going to be, right? Because you have to think of the front yard, the backyard, the sides. You have to think if you're going to add a pool later. You have to think if you want a basketball court on it later. You have to think about if you want a football field later. You have to think if you want a helicopter pad on it later. Like, you have to think of all those things when you're buying land. And what I realized is that as you buy the land, depending on what it looks like and the price that you got it at, is how much work you have to put into it. So you may have got a lot of land for cheap because you know that you're going to do all these things to it. Like I said, a helicopter pad is going to be on mine one day. So like that means I have to do a lot of work to get there. But I got it for cheap too. So guess what? I'm going to have to till the land. I'm going to have to pay attention to the soil. I'm going to have to cement certain areas. I'm going to have to get an inspector in and look over it. Whereas somebody else, they're not looking at all that. They got a smaller plot of land and they started building up immediately because they just want a pool. And that's okay for them and their lifestyle. But what you're doing and what's messing you up is that you see them over there and they're already working on their pool. They're already working on their house. But you're over here and you're still mowing the yard. You're still hacking away at the trees. You're still in the trenches, in other words. And you have to realize, like I had to realize, and I really thought about this week and talking to one of my friends, is that that's why I'm still doing what I'm doing now, is because I asked for a lot. And I see myself working towards receiving a lot. But I have to put in the work and the labor to make sure my foundation is strong, good, dependable, so then I am ready for all the heavy equipment that I'm going to use, for all the product that I'm going to have to use, for all the people that are going to help work on my plot of land. That's why it's so important for you to know your path and for you to know yourself as an individual. Because if not, you can become distracted, can become envious, you can almost kill what you have coming to you because you're too busy focused on what the person is doing with their own plot of land. And what's crazy is a lot of the times when you look at someone and they're working hard and doing what they're doing, you get so wrapped up in them and they don't even know you exist. They're just sitting there working and keep going and not focused on it. And that's what I would tell you as individuals. Don't worry about other people. Stay focused on yours. Build your own. Don't worry of how hard that struggle was. Be focused on how long it took you to decide on solving the problem. Because if you're facing different adversities, it's for you to have a better story for later. And that means that's more people you're going to be able to help. That's more people you're going to be able to reach. And that's more people you're going to be able to understand. And based upon your village is how you're able to acquire that knowledge. When I was in human resources, like I said, I had a small village of people who were all in different stages in life, who I asked the same question to because I saw that they were at different stages in their business career. But one thing that I saw in all of them is that they were all going to school, which means that they were still realizing that they had much more to learn. From my manager to my top person in the department to the new person on the block. They all were in school, they were all learning, and they were all trying to grow. And I realized, and it really made me think, what am I doing to make sure that I'm growing? And that's what I ask you. This is something that I use to track my growth, to keep me accountable of my growth, and to manufacture more growth. That's the key component that I would really think of, is that I want this to be something that manufactures more growth. So I ask you, what are you doing to make sure you're doing those three things as well? And knowing your path, knowing how much acreage you want on your land, doing the homework and the research first before you look anywhere and judge anybody else is so important. And in this day and age, I think that's a major problem that we have that we're just not aware of, is that we're too busy focused on other people's growth process and not trying to figure out our own. So I hope this Tuesday talk was beneficial for you. Thanks for tuning in today. Remember, you can always find me on Truvisionaryxiv on Instagram, Truvisionaryxiv on Snapchat, and definitely comment. Let me know what you think. I'm getting a lot of side conversations, and I'm liking that. So it means that I'm definitely asking questions that other people are wondering as well. But let's build a village and let's have people talk about it together as one, so that way we can keep moving forward. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you next time on Tuesday Talk.